Eggs have never been more popular in Ireland, and the number of laying hens has risen by almost 80% in the last 10 years to 3.4 million. Margaret Farrelly is one of the top egg producers and processors in the country.
In 1987, Leo read an advertisement on the Anglo-Celt where another packer was looking for free-range egg producers, small free-range egg producers. We applied and we got our first 150 hens, I think, on the 12th of December that year. We got our packing licence the following year. Took in eggs then, as time went on, from a number of other producers in the locality, and that gradually extended to the local counties. But we were hugely helped at that time by a big word that was used in the UK government at the time, where Edwina Curry made her famous statement, and the consumer believed in free range, that it was less intensive or whatever, and that was a huge opportunity for us at that time. Today we pack from 23 farms, about 180,000 hens. The eggs are collected from the farms twice weekly, and we work 5 days doing about 250,000 eggs a day in the packing centre.
That seems a lot of eggs.
Well, it isn't really when you consider it in relation to the industry.
And you've won many awards yourself.
Well, the most recent one was recognition just recently in the Cavan Business and Tourism Awards. I got the International Person of the Year, and the previous one to that was European Farm Woman of the Year last year, so very excited. Anyway, I still have to do the day's work the next day, so I get on with it.
That's no one deserves it more. Now, Margaret, you mentioned free range. When a customer sees free range in a pack of eggs, what does that actually mean?
This actually is free range Neven, where the hens have access to outdoors during daylight hours. There's very specific requirements, EU and Department of Agriculture requirements. They must have a hectare per 1,000 birds. They don't all use it, but most of them will.
What would their diet be?
Those little darlings of machines, and they are little production machines, they get about 130 grams of milled grains or whatever daily, and whatever they pick up outside then.
They seem very timid. Look at them gathering around us here just as we're chatting.
Very inquisitive too.
Inquisitive,
yeah,
is
they
it?
Are.
They like my shoes.
They want to know, yes, and if you were down low or something like a ring or that, they'll pick at that, yes. Or you're right.
So as well as producing and packing eggs, you're very innovative with your egg products. I'd love to see that, Margaret.
Absolutely love to show it to you.
Great.
Neven.
You lead the way.
All right.
Good woman.
Thank you.
So Margaret, what's happening here?
This is an idea we had a number of years ago, Neven, where we needed to use our surplus eggs. The eggs that were surplus for retail. David is loading the machine with the eggs. They go up along the process. They get cracked and separated at the divide of the machine. Separating the eggs means we have an option to pasteurise whole egg whites and egg yolks separately.
Why would people buy the full egg liquid pasteurised?
Well, convenience mainly, I think. There are some age groups that are a higher disease risk, and because these are already pasteurised, there's no risk with these.
And they cook exactly the same way,
absolutely.
Don't they?
They make the most beautiful, soft scrambled egg you ever imagined.
Really? What I'm noticing here, the lovely colour.
We're just rebranding at the moment. We'd be no egg, and we wanted to add personality to our eggs. Our first attempt at innovating was way back in 2000, when we first brought omega-enriched eggs to the Irish market, and we put them in green packs. Now everybody has green packs. We've since moved on and we introduced a pink pack to the market. We put white eggs in that, and then we've completed the range with these other colours for the new branding.
And tell me about the difference in them, like this white egg, for example.
Many people prefer a white shell. Nationalities, cultures, and even Irish people, this reminds them of going to their grannies. And this one, we have sponsorship for a charity that's very close to our hearts, Avian's Pink Tie.
And what about this one, the omega?
This one here, our omega-3 enriched egg. The hen's feed is enriched with seaweed, given a substantial amount of omega-3 into the egg.
How many eggs would you be separating a day?
60,000 eggs.
60,000 eggs. You know, I've learned so much, and hearing your passion and your love and your respect
for your little hens. You know, you just live and breathe what you do, don't you?
You would have to stop, tell me to stop talking about them.
Margaret, we are so proud in Black Lion to use your eggs.
Thank you, Neven.
You're an
Thank
inspiration, you know that, and a great woman. Thanks, Margaret. I'm here in County Carlow, and it's hard to imagine a more traditional scene. Rolling hills, clumps of trees and horses in the fields. But it's here where one of Ireland's most innovative farmers lives and produces something very unusual. Eva, how are you?
Neven, how
Nice
are
to
you?
see you. Are you good?
Mwah. Thank you so much for calling in.
It's a pleasure. Tell me how the whole snail farm thing began.
So everything began back in 2012. My partner and I, we went to France for holidays. We've tasted escargot for the first time, and we absolutely loved them. And we came back to Ireland then, and we discovered that we can't get them anywhere. So we decided to start rearing them in a one-bedroom apartment in Kilkenny. So we used to have these plastic containers with the snails next to our bed.
Yeah.
Purely a hobby, just to satisfy our own appetite. But we've conducted some market research and we discovered a huge demand out there. And we said, why don't we try? So we did.
So Eva, why are snails so good to eat?
Snail meat is very high in protein, very low in fat, very low in calories, so it contains all these amino acids needed for the human body. So it is really healthy food, and we've never considered market our escargot as a high protein product until Richard Corrigan cooked our snails for Irish rugby players. So what Richard Corrigan thinks in general is that all sports people, not only rugby players, they are sick of eating chicken. So he was trying to introduce alternative foods to chicken, and snail meat is a wonderful example.
And why don't more Irish people eat snails?
I strongly believe, Nevan, it's a lack of education. Here in Ireland we have this psychological barrier in order to eat escargot, and that's the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah, it is all about education, because, you know, like for me, when I put something on the menu, whether it's eel or oysters, I normally have to poach them very, very gently, because I think when they taste them, they'll enjoy them. But there's this barrier before they eat, isn't it? Like
I
the
agree.
reaction that you get from people, do they enjoy it when they taste them?
They do, but the biggest challenge for us is always to encourage them to taste them for the first time. After they taste them, they absolutely love them. Nevan, this is my Snail Kingdom.
It looks very impressive. So tell me about the whole process here.
The whole cycle takes 10 months. The first 3 months is the time when snails are mating, laying eggs, and then we have a first baby snails. Then we keep our baby snails in our polytunnel between 4 to 8 weeks, and from May until September they all go to the field. So we try to provide them with as natural environment as possible. This time of the year all the snails should be harvested, but we left some for you to have a look. Yeah. So I have some working gloves ready for you there.
Thank you.
To help me out. Yeah.
So they're ready to be harvested, so what happens then?
That's right. After that, we bring them to the porging tables. They have to clean their stomach, and then we hibernate them for more or less 2 months. And then this cycle starts all over again.
Well, and what do they feed on? What do they eat?
Vegetation, forage rape, and this year we introduced some shamrock just to make them even more Irish. We also provide them with the dry food, which is basically a mixture of different cereals and calcium, as they need a lot of calcium for the shells to develop properly.
And do they move really slowly? See the way they're all kind of up here against the
Because
wall?
we harvested all the left-hand side, all the snails are migrating to the highest point of the field at the moment because they can sense that this winter is coming. So they'll be gathering together, so they'll be creating these pyramids to keep themselves warm and dry.
See the way they're sticking onto the wood? Like, do they just stay like that? They don't...
The snails are nocturnal animals, so they eat at night. The boards, they have actually dual purpose. We put our food for the snails on these boards, so at night they are coming out and eating from these boards, but during the day they'll be hiding under the boards.
So after the snails are harvested, where do they go?
So the 3 biggest markets for escargot in Europe is French, Italian and Spanish. However, this year is the first year where we are going to add value into our product, so we are thinking to put them into the jars in brine, and they will all go to Middle East, to Dubai and Singapore. The chefs are looking for is something more convenient, something already pre-cooked, but as bland as possible so they can still add their own flavors into the dish.
But it's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Eva. Thank
Pleasure,
you.
Neven. Thanks so much for coming.
Pleasure. Xana Cookhouse in County Wexford is a small artisan family-run business owned by Owen and Lorna Mullins and their son David. They produce pies, soups and pâtés, but are perhaps best known for their handmade, award-winning quiches. Owen has invited me to his home to do some cooking. Well, I love going around the country and meeting small producers, and I'm always interested how small producers can start off with a recipe, scale up and cook in volume. You make 4,000 quiches a week. How do you do that?
Well, I guess we started off making just quiches for the Wexford Farmers Market. Shops came looking for the product. We employed one person in Stable Diet, a little kitchen that we had rented off him. And we kind of grew it from there, and now we have a very good team of 8 people. And obviously we have to get equipment and so on in place as well. We got funding from the Wexford Enterprise Board and bordbia.ie. We get the MAPS grants, and that helps us as well to market the product.
Tell me the secret into your pastry, how to get it so thin. Is there any particular flour you use?
Well, if you look at that, see it's nice and smooth. And as I roll that out, you see it's not really shrinking back at all. You have 9% protein in the flour, so you don't get gluten reaction. The gluten reaction makes the pastry stretch back a lot. Ordinary plain flour is pretty good. You're going to get maybe 10% or 11%. Bread flour is a total opposite end of the spectrum. That's like 13.5%. That'll stretch back and you'll have problems. We make the pastry in the little food processor. So you've 300 grams flour, 150 grams of butter, 50 grams of water, and blitz it. 3 minutes, the pastry is made. Another little trick with the pastry as well is add a pinch of salt into it. It slows down the gluten reaction, relaxes the pastry. One of the secrets is to keep it cold. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to push that down a little bit so it's bulging out a little bit. What we do when we're finished then is just push it and it cocks up a little bit. It allows for a little bit of shrinkage on the pastry. Squish it around like that. We're going to line it with beans now. We're using marifat peas.
And cling film.
Yeah, and you might think it'd melt, but it doesn't. We're doing all this in the kitchen by hand, like the blind baking, egg washing, back in the oven again. So we start off, we have machines now to press out the pastry.
Yes.
That speeds that element up because you just couldn't roll out physically do that.
Yeah, these are the marifat
So
peas.
if you didn't put these in, the pastry would rise.
This is a clever tip now for people at home.
Well, it's not as expensive as beans. That's ready to go into the oven now. The temperature is 180 fan or 200 conventional oven.
And how long does that take in the oven?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah, we'll take it back out again.
Incredible the cling film doesn't melt.
Yeah, it does shrink back, but the great thing about the cling film is that it actually allows the beans to go right into the corners of the pastry. It doesn't bridge or anything like that, so you get a nice clean shell.
They're two very good tips, the pastry and the cling film. I'm learning all the time.
This is out of the oven now, Neven, and it's ready for egg washing. Take out the beans.
The marifat, will I help you there?
Yeah.
Good man. And you can use them again, no waste.
We use them over and over, like, you know, so that's your shell. Now I'm going to egg wash it to seal the pastry so that the egg mix doesn't go down into the pastry and the pastry stays nice and crisp.
Full eggs you're using. And how would you do that in the factory now at this stage?
Up to very recently we were doing it as I'm doing it now. We then decided we'd buy ourselves a spray gun. It's a regular spray gun for spraying paint. And we filled up with the egg mix and we have a big line of these. And shh. Yeah, so it gets through it a little bit quicker.
That's fantastic.
That's the
Will I get the oven for you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Here we go.
So back in for 3 minutes and the egg will be cooked and the pastry will be sealed.
And the same temperature.
Same temperature, yeah.
Perfect.
We have our onions here, sweated off. And what I like to do with the onions, and we do it in the cookhouse as well, is we sweat them really slowly so they get nice and sweet and soft and they don't get very much colour on them at all.
What did you cook it in? Is it butter or oil? Or?
Butter, yeah. So we add a little garlic in there. We're going to cook that off for a few minutes. And some thyme leaf as well, because I love thyme. It gives a lovely flavour.
What quiche are you making for me today?
We're making a kind of a twist on a quiche Lorraine. Classic quiche Lorraine, we use either smoked ham or smoked bacon. So what we're using is an Irish bacon from O'Neill, just up the road, and we're also using then Knockanore, smoked cheddar and Wexford mature cheddar. Just take this out of the oven here, Neven. Nicely sealed off, and it is. That's just the way we want it.
Gorgeous. I'll get the oven for you.
Yeah. So there it is now, ready for filling. Add some cream into the eggs. We have our onions sweated off with some garlic and thyme leaf. I'm just going to spread that, and this is exactly how we do it in the kitchen. Everything is done by hand as well up in our cookhouse. All the ingredients are put in, it gives us consistency. Now we're going to put the pancetta in there.
You just fry that off.
Yeah, and we're also using then Knockanore smoked cheddar and Wexford mature cheddar. We mix them more or less half and half.
Half and half.
The big trick is probably have everything cooked before you put it in, because when you're cooking a quiche, you're really cooking the egg.
So the onion goes in first, and then you have the bacon, which is all cooked, as you said.
But it's kind of how we do it up in the cookhouse as well. If two girls are making the quiches up there, one will go around, put in the onion, then somebody else will put in the cheese, and they follow it around like that. So kind of develop.
Where's the egg going to go in?
Slowly when it's cheese, because with the cheese it tends to melt a little bit as well. It can flow over on you.
And cream is important, is it?
You can use milk in there instead of cream.
Okay.
You can use half and half. You can use milk and cream. I just think that the cream gives it a lovely light texture, like to the actual custard, to the egg mix that's in there. A few little strips of bacon there just to go on top.
And then into the oven.
If you fill it not quite to the top, and then just top it up when it's on the tray in the oven. If you have jittery hands, you just put another little bit in then when it's on the tray.
Or you're getting a bit excited. I'd normally do that for a lemon tart now. The quiche is a good idea.
Yeah, so there you are.
Just gently put it in. And again, you're keeping it at the same temperature too.
Same temperature. Give it 30 minutes, see how we're doing, and might need a little bit longer or might need a little bit less.
That looks absolutely delicious. I love the way it's puffed up a little bit and it's golden brown. It's gorgeous.
I'll cut it through here and we'll have a little look.
You can see all the layers. Look at the onion, bacon, and them. It's so soft. The cheese, the smokiness, the softness of the onion, the garlic divine. It's been an absolute pleasure cooking with you. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Neven. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a pleasure having you here.
I'm often asked the question, which ingredient could you not live without? It has to be eggs. I love eggs. So I decided I'd do one of my favourite desserts, and it's a creme brulee. But I'm going to give it a kind of an Asian twist with coconut milk, and then I'm going to flambe some pineapple and some rum. Beautiful, and vanilla. So what I've done is scalded the cream, and I'm going to add coconut milk. Now, if you don't like coconut milk, you can make this perfectly fine with regular milk. So just bring that to the boil, whisk this all together. And this speeds up the whole process. So we have our egg yolks and caster sugar. And then I'm going to put in some vanilla. So vanilla has got expensive, so you can use the vanilla extract. It's much better than the essence. With the actual skin, put that into the coconut milk and the cream. And then this goes in here, the seeds, and then you literally whisk. Now this is important, don't use an electric mixer. Because when you use an electric mixer in this, you're going to take in air. So then when you fill the brulees, you'll think, oh, they're really full. But when the air goes out of your custard base, they will be a lot smaller than what you thought they were. So just beat this together just for a couple of seconds. Then we pour the hot onto the cold. So you can vary the flavourings. Like I have lovely oranges there, limes, you can put the zest in there. You could use even some cinnamon, star anise, that kind of thing. So you can just change the flavour. I've also experimented once with a balsamic creme brulee. It was okay. This is my favourite. The vanilla one, the coconut one, they're two of my favourites. So this is nearly came to the boil. We call this scalding. Turn this down, and then you just simply pour this here. Give it a whisk. And that's your brulee mixture made. So I'm just going to pass it through a sieve just into the pot. And that's going to catch the vanilla skin. That's your mixture ready. So now I'm going to fill my ramekins. So every time you fill them, you need to kind of stir it because the vanilla seeds will sink. This is a small little tin. And if you notice, I've half filled it with some hot water, or you can use cold water, but it's going to take a little bit longer. These are great little ramekins because they're about 1/2 inch in thickness. So these are going to set beautiful. This we'll call it bain marie. So what it does, it protects the custard. Like if you put this in at a dry heat, because the oven is preheated at 150, they will curdle. It's as simple as that. Just with your ladle, we fill that nearly to the top. Don't be tempted to fill it too much because what happens when you're bringing it over to the oven, half it will end up in the water. So a dish like that, that'd be too deep. So I like a nice wide dish. So when you're glazing it, you're getting an even amount of custard and a nice kind of brulee top from the caramelized sugar. So these need to go into the oven. I have the oven preheated at 150, but it's not very precise the time, and the reason why you want a slight little wobble in the centre. So just very carefully lift them. That's why we don't fill them too full. And just pop them in. So they'll take about an hour. Now we're going to serve some roast pineapple, but I want to show you the brulees because it's important that when they come out of the oven, you let them sit in the water to cool down and then in the fridge. This is what they look like. So they're set, and I just want to show you the consistency. They're creamy, they're smooth, exactly what I want. They can be made ahead, and then you glaze them to order. Beautiful and light. They're not a heavy dessert. I'll just keep that one for later on maybe. To serve with the creme brulee, I'm going to do some roast pineapple. So I'm going to preheat the pan. All I've done is just simply peeled it into wedges. We've removed the core, and then we're going to cut it into nice little chunks. Now you can dice this smaller. We're going to simply serve this warm. Now, a little bit of butter. So this is going to smoke very, very quickly. We're going to get a little bit of vanilla extract. Just turn down the pan. Throw in the pineapple. Grate a little bit of lime zest, so you're keeping all these kind of exotic flavours together. Now we're going to put the juice in, so just half the lime should be okay. So you just move it all around, and the secret is to have really, really nice ripe pineapple. So we're going to flambe this. Rum works really well. You could use Malibu. I'm using the rum. So stand back. And I love the flavour of rum in desserts. You want to keep the texture of the pineapple, which is really important, but you have that lovely syrup. And that's it. Serve that warm on its own like that with a ball of ice cream. It's just beautiful. And now the fun part, glazing the brulee. The best sugar to use is called a raw cassonade sugar. It's a raw sugar cane. Using a little dredger, these are a great little thing to have in your kitchen. So what you want for the creme brulee is a really nice thin layer of this sugar. These are great little gadgets, these small little blow torches. Now, don't have it too close, and then start in the middle and just keep working around. You've got to caramelise the sugar all over. If it browns a little bit too fast, don't worry, just move it back. But you don't want any raw sugar. Perfect. Now, don't be tempted to taste it straight away. The caramel on top, the sugar needs to cool down. So we're going to serve up. So what I like to do is to serve the pineapple separate. So your creme brulee there. Then get your pineapple. So the nice big chunks of the roasted pineapple. So remember the core is being removed and obviously the skin. And then lots of that lovely, beautiful caramel. Just to give it lovely freshness, some mint here. Sprinkle that just all over the pineapple. It's fresh, it's gorgeous, it's creamy. That's my vanilla and coconut creme brulee with the rum roasted pineapple.